Hi, welcome back to the Spirit's Path. This is Dee. And if you'd like a spiritual reading or tarot reading, check out my link down below in the description box with that stand store. So today's tarot card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck is the Nine of Arrows in Dedication. And when I was thinking about this card today, the word dedicated just always came up, okay? And one of the things I like about this card is, all these arrows are dancing, to her music, ready to, go wherever they need to go, right? So, the last couple days we've been talking about that passion, right? And you had that blasted oak, about 5 days ago. The Knight of Arrows, was there to, hey, get off your feet, get moving, get moving, get moving. And then, you realize that, the spark of life has come through you to say, you know what, I'm free of the bonds that I can move on. And then that Knight of Arrows came back and said, okay, what do you need to stand up for? So, we talked about relationships, we talked about finances, we talked about career, about standing up for yourself, right? It's all said and good until you do something with that, right? You have to be dedicated to yourself, for a greater good. If you want a different relationship, you need to take those first steps. You need to have that passion to take that first step. And with that, okay, there's that self-discipline. There's a hard work. There's sincerity behind your actions, right? And those traits are being dedicated to any skill, spiritual belief, or philosophy. So, you want that new relationship. You want to get out of the old one. You have to be self-disciplined. You can't get into the he said, she said, they said, them said, whatever it is, right? You have to be self-disciplined and not, let those those thoughts, which are air generated, logic reasoning, which is what this card is about, is just not letting them go, crazy, right? It's just, okay, let them spew what they got to spew. I'm not going to get, into it. I'm going to stay emotionless, right? Because this is a business transaction. That's how you have to look at it. And, at the same time, you may be, going through those emotions within yourself, not letting other people know about it, but you're touching spirit, you're touching the universe. And those that hear the universal call to be free, they become spiritual warriors, right? And we talked about that down here, I want to say, in that five of stones endurance, which is still down here. And it's being that spiritual warrior, right? And, at the same time, it's protectors of yourself. You're standing up for yourself. That's what that Knight of Arrows is talking about. And you're protectors of your own environment, right? And, Mother Earth, right? You can't let others affect you to where it takes you out of your zone. Like I said, this has got to be a business decision, right? And when you do that, you teach other, others are watching you, and you teach others, to lead by example, and to respect your beliefs and respect your philosophies and how you want to move forward. So, so that if that's in a relationship and you're breaking away because you want something new, then people are gonna, you're gonna hear a lot of naysaying, right? You're gonna hear a lot of you shouldn't do that, but you have to do what's best for you. Especially on your spiritual path and your spiritual journey, okay? You're in control of that. Nobody else is. So, continue to work on those daily rituals, in the oaths of saying, you know what, I'm going to be self-disciplined. This is what I need to do to move forward to be free of this relationship. And you can apply those same terms in a career. This is what I'm going to do to be self-disciplined to get a new career. I'm going to put out those resumes every day. I'm going to start talking to my network, right, of people that I know. Hey, are you hiring? I'm going to start working on a skill set, right? But I'm going to do so with passion, which is that Ace of Bows, that spark of life. I'm going to do so quickly, as well as standing up for myself with that Knight of Arrows. Maybe I'm sitting down with somebody who's a colleague in another industry, and I'm just explaining how I feel, my thought process around that. And, hey, if there's an opportunity within your organization, I promise you're not going to regret it. I'd like to get, even if I've got to come in at the bottom level, right? And you talk about your beliefs and your philosophies as it comes around, with the career, right? And you talk about some of the things that you've done in your career that could help them out. And when you do that in a career setting, okay, you make a difference, when you dedicate yourself to a cause. You say, you know what? I'm very dedicated to, helping out rescue dogs, right? And this is how, my volunteering does this, that, and the other thing. And when you talk about that with your colleagues, right, and look for promotions and look for opportunities, those are the things that you have to continue to work on. Continue with that passion. Continue with standing up for yourself and moving quickly, looking at things from a different perspective, okay? And if this is, building your spiritual path, again, the biggest thing with this card, this Nine of Arrows, self-discipline. You have to stay disciplined in your craft. Work hard. Be sincere. And in this menu, I have to show that sincerity to you, that I understand what's going on, okay? The traits that I have dedicated to the skills that I have to communicate the message. And, those that hear that universal call, they become spiritual warriors just like I'm a spiritual warrior, as I've listened to others, right? And, I protect my area. I stand up for who I am, right? Just as you should stand up for who you are. Quit letting, others, hold you back. That blasted oak has set you free. And it's set you free for a reason, okay? To stand up for yourself, as well as, to look at that Knight of Bows situation and say, where are you seizing that opportunity? What opportunity is there that can propel you moving forward on your spiritual path or career or relationship? All right. And then, both the Knight of Arrows and the Knight of Bows, we talked about it yesterday. What details are you missing? Have you looked at everything from a different perspective up above as that hawk flies around? Okay. As this hawk's flying around, over this gal with this bow and these arrows, the dedication that she has to her skill is making music. So much so that the arrows are dancing. Okay. The air around her is moving. And when you dedicate yourself to whatever cause that may be, okay, that air will move around you as well. And people will start noticing what's going on and notice that you're on your spiritual path and notice that, hey, they don't let little things affect them anymore, okay? They are in tune with their journey, their path, and they're in tune with themselves, and they move forward. And you know what? When you can be a beacon of light like this to others, people are going to notice, and they're going to want to follow suit. So that's today's tarot card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck, the Nine of Arrows and dedication. Hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, share it with others, give me a thumbs up. Again, if you'd like a reading, check out that stand store down below. And this is Dee for Spirit's Path. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. God bless. Stay safe, everybody.